In 1977, a radio telescope in Ohio picked up a signal so unusual that the astronomer monitoring the data circled it with a red pen and wrote a single word beside it.
Wow. That was all.
Just one word, written by a scientist named Jerry Eman on a computer printout that measured radio waves coming from deep space. The signal lasted exactly 72 seconds. It came from the direction of the constellation Sagittarius. It matched every single predicted characteristic of a transmission from an extraterrestrial intelligence. And then it was gone. It has never been detected again. Not once. In 47 years of searching. My name is Sophia, and tonight, we are going to talk about the things that space has shown us that science cannot fully explain. Not theories, not speculation, facts, measurements, dates, numbers. Events that happened, were recorded, were studied, and remain, to this day, without a satisfying answer. Some of these will unsettle you. Some will make you question things you assumed were settled. All of them are real. Let's begin. The year was 1977. The place was the Big Ear Radio Telescope at Ohio State University, a facility so large it covered the area of 3 football fields. Its purpose was simple and extraordinary: to listen to the universe and look for patterns that didn't belong to nature. On August 15th at exactly 11:16 p.m., the telescope recorded something extraordinary, a narrowband radio signal, the kind that would have to be artificially generated, because nature does not produce narrowband signals, coming from a region of space roughly 120 light-years away. Its frequency was 1420 megahertz. This is significant. Scientists had theorized for decades that any intelligent civilization attempting to communicate across the cosmos would likely choose this specific frequency. It is the emission frequency of neutral hydrogen, the most abundant element in the universe. A kind of cosmic common language. The signal was 30 times stronger than the background noise of deep space. It lasted 72 seconds. The maximum duration the telescope's field of view could capture as the Earth rotated. And then it stopped. Jerry Eman circled it in red pen. He wrote, "Wow," because he didn't know what else to write. What followed was decades of attempts to find it again. The Very Large Array in New Mexico searched for it. The Arecibo Observatory in Puerto Rico pointed its massive dish toward the same coordinates. In 2016, a team of astronomers using 10 radio telescopes simultaneously scanned the region for over a month. Nothing. Here is what makes this fact genuinely difficult to explain away. A signal produced by natural phenomena, a pulsar, a comet, solar interference, would either repeat or leave a detectable trace. Pulsars repeat with extraordinary precision. Comets produce broadband emissions, not narrowband ones. In 2017, a researcher named Antonio Paris proposed that 2 comets passing through the area in 1977 could have caused the signal. The scientific community largely rejected this explanation. The frequencies don't match. The geometry doesn't work. The signal was too clean, too structured, and too brief to fit the comet model convincingly. 47 years later, the WOW signal remains the strongest candidate for extraterrestrial radio contact in recorded history. The scientist who detected it spent the rest of his career searching for it again. He died in 2020. He never found it. Whatever sent that signal sent it once, and has been silent ever since. There is something in the universe that is pulling us toward it. Not metaphorically, literally, physically, measurably. In the 1970s and 1980s, astronomers studying the movement of galaxies noticed something deeply strange. Our galaxy, the Milky Way, containing somewhere between 100 and 400 billion stars, was not moving the way it should be. It was being pulled. Along with the Andromeda galaxy, along with our entire local group of galaxies, along with thousands of other galaxies across a region of space spanning hundreds of millions of light years, all of them moving in the same direction, toward the same point. They called it the Great Attractor. It sits approximately 250 million light-years away from us, in the direction of the Centaurus and Norma constellations. Whatever it is, it exerts a gravitational influence so powerful that it is pulling the Milky Way toward it at a speed of approximately 1.4 million miles per hour. We are moving towards something at 1.4 million miles per hour, and we cannot see what it is. Here is why we cannot see it. The Great Attractor sits almost perfectly behind the zone of avoidance, a region of the sky where our own galaxy's dust, gas, and stars block our ability to observe what lies beyond. For most of the 20th century, it was essentially invisible. We could only infer its existence from its gravitational effect on everything around it. In the 1990s, astronomers using X-ray and radio telescopes that could partially penetrate the zone of avoidance began to see it more clearly. What they found was a massive supercluster of galaxies, later named the Laniakea supercluster, containing the mass equivalent of roughly 100 million billion suns. But here is the part that remains unexplained. Even accounting for the visible mass of the Laniakea supercluster, the gravitational pull on our galaxy is stronger than the visible matter alone can produce. Something in that region has more mass than we can account for. Something we cannot see and cannot directly measure is pulling us toward it at over 1 million miles an hour. We do not know what it is. We just know we are moving toward it, and have been for longer than our species has existed. In 2004, scientists analyzing data from NASA's WMAP satellite, a spacecraft designed to map the cosmic microwave background, the faint radiation left over from the Big Bang, found something in the data that should not be there: a cold spot. A region of the sky, located in the constellation Eridanus, approximately 1.8 billion light-years across, that is measurably, significantly colder than everything surrounding it. To understand why this is strange, you need to understand what the cosmic microwave background is. It is the afterglow of creation, the faint hiss of radiation left behind by the Big Bang 13.8 billion years ago. It fills the entire observable universe with almost perfect uniformity. Temperature variations exist, but they are tiny, measured in 100,000ths of a degree. The cold spot is not tiny. It is 70 microkelvins colder than the average. It is enormous, and it is almost perfectly circular. In 2015, using data from the Planck satellite, researchers confirmed the cold spot was real and not an artifact of measurement error. In 2017, a study published in the monthly notices of the Royal Astronomical Society found a significant underdensity of galaxies in the region. Meaning, not only is the spot cold, but there are far fewer galaxies there than statistical models predict. It is genuinely, measurably empty, in a way that the standard model of the universe does not account for. Various explanations have been proposed. A supervoid, an enormous region of space with unusually low matter density, was the leading candidate for years. But calculations show that even the largest known supervoid cannot fully account for the temperature difference observed. One theory, proposed seriously by credentialed cosmologists, is that the cold spot may be evidence of a collision between our universe and another universe, a bruise in the fabric of space left by contact with a parallel reality. This theory has not been proven, but it has also not been disproven. The cold spot remains in the data. It remains unexplained, and it has been sitting there in that same region of the sky for 13.8 billion years, waiting for someone to understand what it is. In 2015, a star approximately 1,470 light-years from Earth began behaving in a way that no star had ever behaved before. The star's official designation is KIC 8462852. Astronomers nicknamed it Tabby's star, after Tabitha Boyajian, the Louisiana State University astronomer who led the team that first analyzed its unusual behavior. Here is what Tabby's star does that no other star does. It dims. Dramatically. Irregularly. Most stars that dim do so in predictable, regular patterns, caused by an orbiting planet. Tabby's star has dimmed by up to 22% at irregular intervals. The pattern is not circular. It is asymmetric and inconsistent. Retroactive analysis of photographic plates going back to 1890 showed that the star had been dimming gradually over more than a century. No known natural stellar process produces this. In 2016, astronomer Jason Wright proposed an explanation that was reported around the world. He suggested the dimming patterns were consistent with what you would expect to see if an advanced civilization had constructed a massive structure around their star, a theoretical megastructure designed to capture stellar energy, sometimes called a Dyson sphere. The scientific community treated this possibility with more seriousness than you might expect. Not as the leading theory, but as a theory that the data did not eliminate. In 2017 and 2018, data showed that different wavelengths of light were blocked differently during dimming events, which argues against a solid structure and suggests something more complex, possibly dust or gas. As of today, KIC 8462852 is the most anomalous star ever recorded. Something is blocking its light. Something that has been there for at least 130 years. Something that moves in patterns we have never seen anywhere else in the observable universe. In 1950, physicist Enrico Fermi was having lunch with colleagues at Los Alamos National Laboratory. They had been discussing the possibility of extraterrestrial intelligence, a topic that was, even then, taken seriously by serious scientists. Fermi did some quick mental arithmetic. He considered the age of the universe, 13.8 billion years. He considered the number of stars in the Milky Way alone, estimated at 200 to 400 billion. He considered that many of those stars are far older than our sun, meaning any civilizations they hosted would have had billions of years more than us to develop. He considered how quickly, even at sublight speeds, a civilization with advanced technology could spread across an entire galaxy. Models suggest it would take between 5 and 50 million years, a fraction of cosmic time. And then he asked the question that has haunted physics and astronomy ever since. Where is everybody? If intelligent life is even marginally probable, and given the numbers involved, it seems statistically almost mandatory, then the universe should be teeming with it. Ancient civilizations should have colonized the galaxy millions of years ago. Radio signals should fill the sky. Some trace, some artifact, some signal should be detectable. And yet, silence. 47 years of dedicated radio telescope observation. Silence. The most sensitive instruments ever built, capable of detecting a signal from the other side of the galaxy. Silence. The Kepler Space Telescope identifying over 4,000 confirmed exoplanets, hundreds in the habitable zones of their stars. Silence. Various solutions to the Fermi Paradox have been proposed. Perhaps intelligent life is extraordinarily rare. A theory called the rare Earth hypothesis. Perhaps civilizations inevitably destroy themselves before they can communicate across interstellar distances. A darker possibility that becomes harder to dismiss the more you consider human history. Perhaps they are here and we are not recognizing the signals. Perhaps the universe is so large that even a galaxy full of civilizations is statistically unlikely to be close enough to detect. Perhaps the silence is the answer. There is one solution to the Fermi Paradox that physicists discuss in hushed terms. It is called the dark forest theory, formalized by Chinese author and physicist Liu Cixin. It proposes that the reason the universe is silent is not because we are alone, but because every intelligent civilization that reaches a certain level of development reaches the same conclusion. Announcing your existence is a death sentence. In a universe of finite resources and uncertain intentions, the only rational strategy for survival is silence and elimination of anything that breaks it. This theory is not science. It is philosophy, but it is a philosophy that explains the silence without requiring us to be alone. And that may be the most unsettling explanation of all. Let us return to what we know. A signal received once in 1977 that matched every predicted characteristic of an artificial transmission. Never heard again. A gravitational force of unknown origin pulling our entire galaxy towards something we cannot see at 1.4 million miles an hour. A cold, circular void in the fabric of the universe, 1.8 billion light-years across, that some cosmologists believe may be a scar left by contact with another universe. A star 1,470 light-years away that has been dimming in patterns no natural phenomenon can fully explain for over 130 years. And a universe that, by every statistical calculation, should be filled with voices, but offers only silence. None of these are fringe observations. They were recorded by NASA satellites, published in peer-reviewed journals, studied by the most credentialed scientists on Earth. They are in the data. They are in the record. They are real. What they mean is the question. There is a concept in science called the overview effect, the cognitive shift reported by almost every astronaut who has seen the Earth from space. From up there, the borders between countries disappear. The conflicts that seem enormous from the ground become invisible. What remains is a small, pale blue sphere surrounded by an incomprehensible amount of nothing. Frank White documented testimonies from dozens of astronauts describing the same experience, a sudden, overwhelming sense that something about we understand our place in the universe is incomplete. Not wrong, not entirely, just incomplete. Perhaps that is the most honest thing we can say about all of this. The wow signal is incomplete. Tabby's star is incomplete. The cold spot is incomplete. The Great Attractor is incomplete. The silence of the Fermi Paradox is incomplete. Science is not a collection of answers. It is a collection of questions that have been organized well enough to produce temporary answers, which are then replaced by better questions. Every discovery on this list replaced a comfortable certainty with a more interesting uncertainty. And the universe, as best we can tell, has been doing this since the moment it began. In 1990, the Voyager 1 spacecraft was 3.7 billion miles from Earth. Astronomer Carl Sagan requested that NASA turn its camera around and take a photograph of home. In that photograph, Earth appears as a single pixel, a pale blue dot suspended in a shaft of sunlight, surrounded by an ocean of absolute darkness. Sagan wrote about it afterward. He wrote that every king and every peasant, every young couple in love, every mother and father, every inventor and explorer, every teacher and every corrupt politician, every saint and sinner in the history of our species lived and died on that mote of dust, suspended in a sunbeam. He was trying to make us feel small. But I think the opposite is also true. Everything we have ever discovered about this universe, every signal we have detected, every anomaly we have cataloged, every question we cannot answer, was found by creatures that live on that single pixel. Creatures that have been looking up at the sky for less than a blink of cosmic time. Creatures who, despite knowing almost nothing about where they are, refuse to stop asking where everything else is. The universe is 13.8 billion years old. We have been listening for less than a century. Whatever is out there has had a very long head start. The signal lasted 72 seconds. And then the universe went quiet again.